I would never ask for permission from my husband. What? Hey guys, let's talk about it. This is Andy with Mindset Matters More. And I am a fan of Dave Ramsey. If you don't know who Dave Ramsey is, he's like this financial help guy who's been around for decades. And they have like a podcast that they have. And somebody was calling and asking about advice about asking their partner to buy a new car because they make enough money, but the husband was like, no, we have to buy a used car. And so for me, it just brought up the idea about asking for permission, especially in the realm of marriage and relationships. And as a child of God, I don't ask permission from a nobody. And here's why I say that. And this is usually like where people might disagree with me, but I believe asking for permission is only for children. I'm not going to ask anybody, not even my husband, not my friends, not my family for permission. Now, that's not to say that I'm not asking people if, it's okay with them. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to like go and steal money for people. Like, if I need money, like, that's not what I'm saying. Okay. Like, a lot of people like to catastrophize what I'm trying to say. My point is that when I want to do something, I am with a partner who lives in alignment with my values. So there is no need for permission. Especially, my husband and I, we have spent so much time building our relationship on trust and respect for one another's, like the way that we think. But, that just goes against every fiber of my being to be like, hey, I would like permission for this. Like, that's just not how it's supposed to work. There's a imbalance in the power dynamic when you're asking somebody for permission to do something. And that should not exist in relationships, especially relationships. Now, there's a difference when you're like asking for permission for a day off from work because you work for a company. Yes, they do hold your job in their hands. So yes, you need to ask for permission. But I'm not going to ask my job for permission to go to Hawaii or to go to Cuba or to go to Europe. Like they don't have that authority over me. So there's limits to what permission should be. But when you are in a marriage, when you are in a partnership, asking for permission, no, you are not, like this is an equal footing 100%. Now, the whole issue came about was because the husband was making the money and she was the stay-at-home wife. Okay? There's still a power dynamic issue when you're asking somebody for permission. Okay? How do you attack problems? How do you come at people when it comes to asking for something? Is it that you're explaining yourself? Is very different because if you're saying, hey, I want this because I know we make the money and I should get it, and it comes from a very like low position and it comes from like a, hey, you can have the right to veto this, which should not exist. But if you're approaching it from like, hey, I would feel better with a new car because I don't want to be stranded in the road. We have a newborn and all like explaining why it is that you feel justified in purchasing a new car. And it's not asking for them to purchase new cars. You saying, no, I'm going to use the money to purchase a new car, which obviously warrants a discussion with your partner. But it comes from like, how are you approaching the situation? Are you asking for permission or are you coming together to find a solution to really what the underlying problem is? And that should be across the board when you're talking to anybody, not just your spouse, your kids, your parents. Like it should come about trying to find a resolution to the problem. You always have to take a look at the language that you're using in a relationship. Now, that could be a familial relationship, friendship, it could be at work, it could be, coworkers, your boss, like whatever the dynamic is, you really have to take a look at how you are coming at problems. Are you coming at it from a place of, I am beneath you? Or are you coming at it from a, hey, this is the situation and here's what I believe the solution is? I have never talked to my bosses in this deference. Like, I was actually just talking about this the other day about how, you know, at my first big girl corporate job, 4 or 5 years in, the president of the company, the presidents, the vice presidents, the directors, they'd be walking down the hall and I'd be like, hey, Jim, hey, Bob, hey, Amy. Like, I would be like talking to them as if they were people and not as people who had this authority over me, because that's not how I roll. Now, there are people who I do talk to in deference, like my priest. I will call him father. I will call him by his title because to me, that is an earned thing that they have done and have like, but in terms of like my husband, I'm like, I'm not gonna call him sir. Like I'm not gonna like there's just rules to this shit. Like, and it's definitely not a knock on people who will call their boss Mr. Smith, Mrs. Johnson. Like that's fine for you. But are you coming at a place because you want to show them respect? Or are you coming at it from a place of I am beneath you and that is why I give you that title? Is it coming from a place of I am less than? And that's where the language is really fucking important, because it's not about asking for permission in the long run. If you worded it weird, who cares? But if you're really just asking because you feel like you do not have any authority in the situation and that's just manufactured, then there's some work that needs to be done within you. So always watch your language and how it is that you're approaching challenges, because you might inadvertently be like giving away your power to people who, one, might not cherish it, two, will abuse it, or C, not really understand why it is that you're putting yourself beneath them and not respect you for it. So I just had that little thought and I want to know what you guys think. So I still have more stuff from California that I want to share with you guys, but I just thought this was interesting enough to sort of put a little break in here and talk about this. But, honestly, just the way that people talk sometimes is just baffling to me. Like the incessant I'm sorries, the incessant apologies, the incessant, oh, excuse me, or even when people email me, I'm sorry to bother you. I'm like, this is my job. Like, it's not a bother. I wouldn't choose this as a career if it were a bother. Like, putting yourself beneath other people is not getting you brownie points. You're not getting anywhere in life by putting yourself beneath other people with your language. So I just want to put that out there. Let me know what you guys think. Okay? Love you guys. Bye.